Moonbane Covert, a small town a few miles away from St. Johnsbury, with a population less than 300. No one ever comes to Moonbane Covert since there aren't many opportunities here. From a few tall buildings to the vast spread of shrubbery and woodland, its history remains puzzling and highly ambiguous. The ones born here never decide to leave, and the ones that travel to the city never stay long. With such alienation, people are prone to hallucinate, become strange, and wonder about the world in its entirety. Witchcraft is one of the few amusements that the locals have adopted to pass their time. However, since 1932, when the Great Burning happened, many of the locals have resorted to indulging in such activities more secretly by going to the depths of the woods during the full moon and solar eclipse. It seems like time has never caught up to the locals of Moonbane Covert. The time loop they've created is soothing enough, never making them leave, even though some people believe there's something more than just delusion that drives people crazy here.
Local hunters stumbled upon this massive pile of ivory. They actually thought this whole place used to be some kind of mammoth cemetery.
Our parents just died.
I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say.
People never do.
To be honest, I miss you a lot. I forgot how brutally honest you could be. The people in this town, they're always smiling, but you were always different. Been over a decade since I last saw you. Hey, remember when we were young and we used to sneak out? Mom and Dad would look for us around in the forest.
Ingrid, get back here.
Is that what it sounded like? Are you kidding me? You're back. It's all that matters. How was life in England?
Life in England was isolating. I was in a really small town, so people didn't really understand me back there. All I really wanted was to come back home. Isn't it funny? How you've always wanted to go traveling and all I really wanted was to come back home. Maybe we should have switched lives. No wonder the locals gave it the name Mammoth Forest.
My memory's a bit fuzzy, but I'll never forget Mom's bedtime stories. She used to tell me a story about that. It was a silly story, anyway.
Do you think I can't handle the story?
Alright, here it goes. A century ago, you had these witches, right? They used to collect ivory from these rituals, you see. The thing is, these local hunters someday stumble upon this massive pile of ivory hidden underneath the branches, right? And they didn't know what it was. They thought maybe it was some kind of mammoth cemetery. That's where the name comes from. It's quite strange, actually, with all these legends and rumors of dark arts being used around Moonbane Covert. You know, you'd imagine that the villagers would be more prepared. They didn't seem to understand what was going on around these woods.
Do you believe in that story?
I could be wrong, but as they say, life can be stranger than fiction.
What's that? Do you miss them?
Terribly. If they hadn't gone out that night, if they hadn't had that accident, they'd still be here with us.
At least you got to spend time with them.
Ingrid, I missed you though.
They sent me away, Cody. Besides, they've always preferred you over me, ever since we were little. Maybe because you were the actual child.
There wasn't a day where they wouldn't bring up your name. In the last 6 months, they kept telling me how full of regret they were for sending you away.
And why did they? Doesn't matter now anyway.
Okay, so when the villagers first came here, they didn't know the witches. They thought, we got nothing to fear and they're peaceful and everything. And you gotta remember, in the 1920s, people were pretty interested in the occult. They did as they pleased. It's a free country.
So that's it. What's the big deal?
Well, things changed. One day, 2 powerful witches came to town, called Ruby Thornton and Ophelia Thornton, also known as the Hallowed Sisters. Children started missing. Their remains were found weeks later, scattered across the entire forest. Obviously, it didn't take long for the villagers to change their minds about the witches.
That's horrible. Does anyone know where they came from?
They were rumored to be direct descendants of the witches tried in Salem, Massachusetts, 1692.
Of course you know the year.
It all came to a head when the villagers realized that the witches were behind the abductions. So the next morning, the villagers decide to arrest all the witches. So a few unlucky ones get hanged, but many more escape. And they settled not too far from Moonbane Covert, but far enough to remain hidden.
I hear that sound again.
Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm fine. Don't touch that.
What? Why not?
We don't know what's in there.
I just want to give it a quick look.
Did you know? Independent, unsubmissive women were declared as witches.
No, I did not know that. I didn't know that you were interested in witches and their history.
Witches were always hunted down and killed. Burning was popular in Europe. Hanging was more preferred here. I spent most of my time at the local library while I was in England.
So what else did you learn while you were in England?
At the end of the 17th century, over 200 people were accused of witchcraft, 19 of which were declared guilty and executed by hanging at Gallows Hill. One was even pressed to death. 4 other people died in jail while waiting for a trial. The other 100 accused were pardoned, found not guilty. Even up to this day, no one knows where their bodies are buried, because they weren't allowed Christian burials.
Where's all this coming from?
The great-grandparents of the Thornton sisters were one of the survivors of that awful event. They started a cult with those who were left behind, and they trained young witches and warlocks to protect themselves.
Wait, so you knew about the Hallowed Sisters?
Yes, I have. They were really powerful. However, they disappeared when the Great Burning happened. The ones that managed to escape declared that no witch would ever return to such a tragic place ever again. Have you ever wondered why that massive lynch happened at the beginning of the last century? Meanwhile, in the world, witch hunting only ended in the 17th century.
I guess people in Moonbane Covert have probably lost a sense of time or something. We should get home. You don't want to spend the night in these woods.
Cody? What are you doing?
I just wanted to give it a read-through before we get home.
You're not taking that with you.